Total athlete. He was so fit and so buff and so strong. He had a six-pack, he was bodybuilding a little bit, and he's working on a physical job. He was fit.
So then you were called and he was unconscious?
He was unconscious at that point and not breathing.
Là, je vais me brosser à soir en même pas un petit Red Bull.
Okay. Avec, qu'est-ce qu'il y a dans ton verre?
Un rum and coke.
I don't want to see another family live through what my family did.
The waters of Lac Saint-Pierre may look peaceful, but what they hide is tragic.
Before this night, he had been there almost every weekend possible, including when there was still ice on the ground. And yeah, he loved that cottage.
That cottage is where her son, Zachary Mitchell, spent time with friends in the summer. The lake, about 70 kilometers from Ottawa, was his playground. He used to dive in the water from the balcony whenever he'd come.
He'd done that jump no less than 150 times in the past 4 years.
Zachary was 21 years old, full of energy and in good shape, according to the coroner who looked at his file. He loved sports. This video, recorded by his friends, shows him at the lake.
He was a fish, and he loved jumping and he loved diving, and he was so good at it.
That night, though, he did his usual jump. He dove, came up to the surface, and then sucked back down. He never resurfaced. Another city, another story. Jim Shepard's son's death near Toronto also seemed inexplicable when it happened.
They bought a memorial tree for him.
In front of the memorial tree planted for his 15-year-old son, he remembers how he died suddenly and without warning. Brian Shepard was an athletic teenager. His hockey trophies are still in his bedroom. Like he often did with friends, on January 6, 2008, Brian took part in a paintball tournament. But that day, something went wrong.
They were waiting for the award ceremony and a victory team's dinner when he collapsed.
And then he was taken to hospital?
Took to hospital, and they tried for about 4 hours, but they could not correct the arrhythmia. And finally, his heart gave up.
Jim Shepard doesn't understand how his son died. 3 months after his death, he went back to where it happened.
I said to the owner, I said, it doesn't make any sense. The only thing in his system was caffeine, and he didn't drink caffeine. And that's when he said to me, I thought you knew. And I thought you knew what? And the next thing I know, I find out that Red Bull was through that day and handed out samples of energy drinks, and that Brian was witnessed taking one of those drinks and drinking it.
His son drank Red Bull. For Shepard, that was something new. 2 stories, one thing in common: energy drinks. During her investigation, the coroner Pascal Boulay learned that Zachary Mitchell was seen with that same kind of drink just before he died.
Il est le seul qui est arrivé avec des Red Bull. Ils en ont trouvé 4 dans la poubelle. Le taux de caféine est compatible avec le taux qui a été consommé. Je dis qu'il en a au moins consommé 2.
The coroner discovered that Zachary was carrying a gene that predisposes him to a cardiac arrhythmia. Zachary wasn't aware of that. The arrhythmia was triggered when he combined exercise with Red Bull.
Toute la preuve appuie le fait que les boissons énergisantes ont quand même contribué. Elles ne sont pas la cause du décès, mais elles ont contribué à une arythmie, et le fait que Zachary était dans l'eau, ben là, il a sombré et il s'est noyé.
I always say that I suspect the energy drink caused my son's death. I can't prove it. But as far as what my heart says, that energy drink was the only thing different that day than any other day of his athletic life. And I think that drink was contributory to my son's death if it wasn't the whole cause.
Energy drinks are different from sport drinks, which are electrolyte rich and rehydrating. They're also different from pre-mixed drinks that combine sugar and high alcohol content. These recently made headlines. Energy drinks are sweet. They contain caffeine and other stimulants like guarana, echinacea, or taurine. That's what Zachary and Brian drank just before they died. Are their stories the exception? Death only happens in extreme cases, but there is growing research on adverse effects linked to these products.
Thanks, David. A Chattanooga man says doctors at the University of Alabama at Birmingham told him an energy drink could be the reason he's dealing with liver damage. He was hospitalized for 3 weeks and almost died.
Very fatigued. I was extremely yellow. I turned very jaundiced, and I had no appetite whatsoever. My liver blood work kept rising. We had no answers whatsoever.
Cox then told his doctor about a new drink he'd added to his daily routine.
I was drinking one in the morning before I go to work, and I would drink one in the afternoon.
As he had only been drinking the energy drinks for 2 months before the damage to his liver was done.
I was told that my case is very severe, and I was in acute liver failure.
The debate over how safe those popular energy drinks are looks to be headed to court. This while the FDA investigates how much caffeine is too much caffeine. The FDA's decision to investigate Monster energy drinks is based partly on the death of that 14-year-old girl. She went into a coma after drinking 2 large cans of Monster Energy and died a few days later.
Panera is facing its second lawsuit in relation to its highly caffeinated charged lemonade drinks. The new lawsuit was filed after a Florida man unknowingly consumed high levels of caffeine from drinking 3 of the charged lemonades. He suffered from cardiac arrest while driving home. His family filed the lawsuit less than 2 months after Panera was faced with its first wrongful death lawsuit by the family of a college student who died after consuming the drink. It's important to note that student had a prior heart condition. The lawsuit alleges the product is not advertised as an energy drink, even though it contains more caffeine than both Red Bull and Monster energy drink combined.